Aquarius. Before I get into your guys' reading, if you take a look down below in my Teespring, you'll see my zodiac line that's slowly but surely being released as I speak. There you'll find every zodiac sign, all 12 of them, on mugs, t-shirts, indoor pillows, and the whatnot. And if you deem fit to actually purchase any of that, that would make me smile and stop throwing pigeons at people. And yes, your sign will be up there soon. Hold your pigeons. But anywho, without further ado, let's get your reading done. So, Aquarius, the way that my readings go, they go a little bit like this. So, every week, 3 goddesses will get pulled for you. The first one to come out is the goddess in power, essentially the one that's going to be helping you the most this week. Essentially, she's the one that's going to provide the most oomph and help. The next one to come out is the goddess you must seek out, or essentially the one you have to take in her qualities more, or take in like what she's done in her mythological stories and start using them more often to help this week be the most sustainable as possible. And then the third one to come out is the one that's telling you, don't forget this, Aquarius, just because you're whimsical and stuff don't mean you're not perfect, so keep your head on straight. So let's see what we got. So Aquarius, we have goddess in power is Mot for judgment. So Aquarius, this week you're going to be challenged on making sure you're going to be making better and more sound decision making this week. So your decision making, and you're going to be tested to see if you know how to choose the correct answer, making sure you know how to choose A for apple instead of, a different letter for B or D for dimwit. Making sure you understand you got your P's and Q's together correctly instead of having your F's and T's be crossed. Got to make sure that you're able to discern correctly this week. You must seek out Sekhmet for empowerment. For this week, you also got to seek out understanding that you understand what true empowerment comes from, and it comes from yourself and trusting yourself. And if you're relying on yourself and knowing that you got this and you're able to withstand anything that comes your way, you'll be surprised that your judgment's going to be on point every single time. And also, if there's anything trying to keep you away from your empowerment, just make sure that you use your judgment to understand that no, I know where my empowerment lies. It relies in myself. And because of that, I'm not going to let any BS get in the way. And speaking of that, you mustn't forget moi for determination. In other words, this week, stay determined to ensure that your best sense of empowerment and self and understanding gets met this week. No ifs, ands, or tushies about it. Don't let anything get in your way and prevent you from getting that. And even if you had to turn up the sass a little bit, table flip on someone, do what you got to do to keep that self-empowerment and self-standing and your sense of clarity up. You know how to handle and survive, Aquarius. Yep, I know you know how to handle it, because you guys are like the most chaotic sign ever. And I can say that because I have a lot of Aquarius placements, so don't be looking at me like, well, how do you know, kid? You're a Libra. Don't do it. I know how you do. Besides, my mother's an Aquarius, so don't you test it. So now regarding the tarot part, and I'm going to be using the Tarot Illuminati for this. We're going to be doing a basic elemental spread to see like how you're standing within your earth, air, fire, and water sector, and then your 3 advice cards for the week. And then, your spirit ether cards are in the center. So regarding your earth sector, regarding your finances, your health, your wealth, your well-being, and all that woohoo stuff. Regarding your earth sector, we have the Magician, or in this deck it's called the Alchemist. Essentially this week you're going to be pretty aware that you're able to actually take any kind of skill that you have and start gaining from it. Essentially you're able to also understand how to actually cure any ailments, so really you don't need to rely on no doctor. for this. You know how to take care of yourself. You know how to bring yourself security. And furthermore, you also know how to invest your money in the right way and also how to ensure that you gain the most from any investment you put in. So you're pretty aware about how to give yourself security and sustaining yourself, which is okay, but that's pretty good. I don't think I need to elaborate more on that when you are pretty much a grandmaster of that right now. Regarding your communication sector and interaction with other people, your learning pursuits, intelligent pursuits, and anything that regarding the mind and expanding your intelligence, we have His Holiness the Pope, the Hierophant. Now, whenever I see the Hierophant, I think of this. I think of somebody in a robe saying, "Hey, everybody, notice me. I am the Guru. Notice me. I know exactly what to teach people. Listen to me. I'm not new here. You see all these shiny things on me? Let that bedazzle you into listening to me." No, that's that. No. In other words, this week, make sure the advice and the counsel and the guidance you give people, make sure it's not too flashy and not like, oh, this Aquarius knows how to handle his urn and he knows how to pour just properly. In other words, make sure the advice you give is sound, realistic, practical, just, and relating to the situation rather than being all cheesy, romanticized, like in a way that it's kind of like a little bit like, okay, I think it's a little over exaggerated. But pretty much it's to the point where you have to give guidance that doesn't sound like what society would say they would want it. And being Aquarius, you know how it is to tell society to be like, you know what, I'm going to do my own thing. Yeah, so make sure the advice you give isn't too society friendly. It kind of supports the individual, which I think you guys already know how to do that anyway. But just make sure any advice you give supports the individual rather than what society wants. Because what society wants is not always usually the most ideal thing for everybody. So then regarding your challenge this week, what's going to bring you zest of life this week, what's going to make you feel alive, is the Ten of Cups. So this week, what's going to give you the most zest is having emotional fulfillment. And also, if you've been investing in a pursuit that has put all of your emotion and energy and pretty much every little ounce of hope you have, putting in all that effort and knowing that finally it's going to be paying off, expect that gain from that investment to be coming in. It's going to motivate you into starting something new this coming week. Let's see. And what is this next endeavor going to... Just to look at to see what this next endeavor is going to bring. Your next endeavor is going to bring... Okay, but we're kind of going on a different track here. Your next endeavor for after the Ten of Cups is going to be the Devil. So essentially what I'm getting from this is, well, if you're new here, which you are, I like to see the Devil as the Chris Farley of the tarot. In other words, he's pretty much the card saying live life and live it hard, up to an extent. In other words, this endeavor that you invested all your hope, energy into, the gains that are going to come from it, enjoy the gains, but don't get over intoxicated with them, because the Devil, don't get me wrong, will give you a nice fun time, but you have to be able to discern when enough's enough. You've had your fun with your gains of the Ten of Cups, but at the same time, enough's enough. Take a step back, enjoy it up to a limit, and then move on to something else, but still save some left over so that way you can enjoy the gains of it still later on. It's just in having that discernment of like, okay, enough's enough. I've had plenty of this intoxication by the Ten of Cups. I've had plenty. I'm going to go move on to something else. You have to be able to have your limits be fully understood, because if you don't, that's when the Devil, gets you all chained up and messes with you to the point where you're kind of stuck. And we don't want you getting stuck. So then, lastly, regarding the emotional, cheesy pursuits or connection with divinity, we have the Nine of Swords. So this week you actually might be losing sleep or might be feeling depressed about a connection that you have that's either gone away, not be doing so hot, or you actually might be worried that your connection to divinity has decayed so bad that you don't feel like connected to God. But the thing is that God is always connected with you. You just have to say his name and then there he is. So don't think that you're always secluded from him. You just got to say his name and then bam, there he is. But also, if you feel that your emotional connection with somebody else is not the best, voice your opinion and tell them how you feel. Because if you don't say how you feel, well, then how are we supposed to know? Just make sure you're completely open about how you feel and make sure that everybody's on the same ballgame when it comes to your emotions and feelings. And if you feel also your psychic abilities have been decaying too, that's a sign to get back into meditating and rebuilding those skills slowly but surely because you don't want to lose those abilities. So your 3 advice cards for this week, Aquarius, we have one, two, three. So Aquarius, we have the Seven of Swords, King of Swords, and then the Princess of Cups. So, your advice this week, it's best to probably stop being sneaky McSneaky and trying to think you're going to get away with something that's not really helpful for you, and actually admitting that some kind of form of action is not really the best for you, and put on your big boy, big girl pants and understand that, look, I have to be fair and just with myself because I'm not giving myself the best self-empowerment that I need this week. And spend some more time connecting with divinity and re-nourishing yourself because you've been looking like you're neglecting your spiritual and emotional side. And you have to understand that in order for you to have a good emotional, uplifting bond with that outside of you, you need to have it within first. Because once you have it within thyself, again with having Mot for judgment, Sekhmet for empowerment, and Moi for determination, you have to have it within thyself first before you can go seek it out elsewhere. So make sure you take care of yourself first before you worry about anybody else or anything else outside of you. Then other than that, Aquarius, that's what I have for you this week, and I'll just see you next week.